Welcome back, friends. Today we are getting into the third and final part of our interview with Breanna from Sweet Autumn Eclectic. If you missed the first two parts, where we discussed everything from our unique candle making processes, finding your ideal customer, color, candles, etc., both of those are available on my channel. I suggest you go back and watch them. Today we're going to be discussing what every candle maker should know before selling, the importance of community, game changers in candle making, the importance of testing your candles before selling them, social media strategies and tips, candle trends, and so much more. Let's get into it. Welcome back, friends. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I wanted to bring on a candle maker and friend of mine, Breanna with Sweet Autumn Eclectic. Maybe you've seen her candles around, but if not, you are in for such a treat. Breanna makes stunning candles that are worthy of being in a museum. And not only are they stunning, they smell absolutely fantastic. Today we'll be discussing all things candles, our unique processes as candle makers, what we do to make you feel more special when you receive your candle, and the business side of making candles. This video will be useful for candle lovers as well as other candle makers. So come on in, drink some water, and let's get into it. What has been the biggest game changer for you as a candle maker?
I think the biggest game changer for me has been getting connected to a community of makers. A lot of us work by ourselves at home, or out of a small studio or something like that, and it can be a little bit isolating. Now, I like my alone time. I don't mind. I could be by myself for massive amounts of time, and that's not an issue. But getting to know other people, like you and a handful of other people in the same even industry has been amazing and affirming and uplifting. And when life has gone awry in the last year for me personally, um, I've had a better support system through the maker community, even than I have in some ways in my small circle of family and friends. So I think that's been the biggest thing for me is just, making friends. I even had a customer who's a repeat customer. I'm in Illinois. She's in Iowa. She's about 2 hours away from me, and we had coffee together a couple weeks ago. So even, relationships with customers and relationships with um, other makers in the community has been amazing. Yeah, she drove 2 hours to come have coffee, and we hit it off, and she's been a customer. So that's been a really, really big deal. It's been amazing. I think that's my favorite part.
I was able to batch up my candle making when I picked up a wax melter, which is basically like a crock pot with it's been retrofitted with
Yeah,
additional pots and stuff. And that has really stepped up my game.
yeah, that's one of my next big purchases, I think. I only do them in really big batches for a market.
Mm,
And right now I'm still doing it old school with, a
double boiler
double
type
boiler kind of
situation.
thing. Oh
Mm.
my gosh. But that's not,
That's what I used to do too. I'm like,
yeah, it's more of a want than a need right now, even though I really, really, really want one. But
one thing I love about it is that I can pour however many candles I'm making that day. I can just fill it up with wax and then pour it and then
yeah,
blend in my pitcher and
yeah,
go from there. But I'm like, I love that it just stays neutral. So I'm like, if I just need,
yeah,
a little wax for one day, I just pour off whatever I need and, adjust recipe
yeah,
accordingly. Or if I'm doing a double batch, which I do that plenty, it's a little bit different process. But, I'm like, just sit there and top it back off and pour off what I need and,
yeah.
go accordingly also, that's always a fun thing. What is a candle business myth that absolutely needs to be debunked? Something you wish that every aspiring candle maker, knew before they bought 20 pounds of wax or 50 pounds of wax at, 2 a.m.
That you can just throw it all together and everything will be fine. You can't. I I had no idea when I started making them just for fun, how scientific it was going to be.
Mhm.
I really just thought it was, put a little, oil and some wax and slap a wick in it and it'll be fine. And it's not. It's going
No.
to be a lot of testing, a lot of time. I mean, trying to find out the wick that would get, the amount of, the wider wax pool that I needed for a big 3-wick candle and stuff like that took me so long to test. Plus, then you have to test every single blend. I mean, I do have
Mhm.
a couple brands of wicks that I know I that are my go-tos, but I've got to test about which size of that brand. And
And every time you do a
I
different
think
scent
it's,
blend, you need to test it.
yeah. Yeah, and there's not going to be anything about candle making that is slap it together and sell it next week at the holiday bazaar. It's just not if you're wanting to do them well, I will
Mhm.
say.
Right.
Y- yes, theoretically you can do that, but if you're wanting a candle that burns well, burns safely, burns cleanly, it's gonna take time and it's gonna take testing. And even when you're starting out, don't buy 50 pounds of one type of wax unless you know that that's the one that you like,
Right.
because there's dozens of them out there and they all have different properties that you may or may not be cool with. Plan for getting to know your wax and your product in small batches.
Hmm. I would
Nobody
also
wants 50 pounds of wax that they can't do anything with.
I've had people come up to me at plenty of markets who were like, I tried making candles one time just for me and I royally messed up. Um,
Yeah.
Go me for editing on that one. Um, like I didn't put enough essential oil in, or I didn't put the right wick in or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. Can you help me figure this
Yeah.
out? Well, sure, but I don't know what you're doing. So if you can't tell me
Yeah.
what wax you used, what wick you used, and what fragrance you were going with. I'm like, I don't know what
Yeah.
your particular wax, what the fragrance load is of that, because every wax is a little different.
Yeah, I've had lots of conversations like that with people too. Yeah, there's so many factors, and even what temperature you pour your wax at, or
Hmm.
what temperature you add the fragrance oils in.
Hmm.
Yes, I have a very big detailed chart of what I did and what worked and what didn't, and
The logbooks are insane.
yeah, to make sure it's repeatable if I
Right,
hit it
exactly.
too.
Exactly. I'm like, one thing I always strive for is consistency throughout the product.
Yep,
Because I'm so
for
small
sure.
batch, it makes it easier. Letting your candles cure, especially if they're soy wax, they need to cure. And I'm like 2 week minimum cure time, so I'm like,
Yeah.
if I know I have a candle thing coming up, I've got it on my calendar 2 weeks before to go, pour that candle. If you could magically outsource one part of your business without any guilt, what would it be and why would it be social media? Oh, that's just me.
Social media is like I gotta love-hate relationship with it. I gotta say,
Ooh, girl, same.
I would, yes, I would want to outsource it, but at the same time, I'd be afraid it wouldn't be infused with me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess I want somebody to do it all for me, but maybe I should duplicate myself. Maybe that would be the way to do it. Because uh, yeah,
Right. I'm like, it's a
um,
total
I
quandary.
would outsource that. I would outsource like my Pinterest more, I would say. I'm trying to get into more Pinterest, and it's less, I mean, it's still personal, but it's not the same
Hmm.
level of interaction. So I probably would outsource that. Yeah, like social media is a hard one for me. I don't like the time suck of it
That
for
is
sure,
correct.
but the best relationships and the best customer relationships and friendships and things like that have that's where they're at, and that's where my most consistent customers come from. So
That
yeah.
tracks. I don't like hearing it, but it tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but I mean, even then I wouldn't say that I'm getting the traction that I need there to make it entirely worth my time, but like anytime I take a break from it, my sales tank because I don't have a lot of visibility in Google or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I think it's a necessary evil.
It is so hard right now to get any kind of like
Yeah.
reach on Instagram is so low. I don't think it's ever been this low before.
It would be different to like I enjoy it at times, but when I'm struggling with stuff personally, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be my perky self
Right.
on Instagram. I'm not. And with a very difficult last year, this past year, I can't. No,
I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for it
I'm
right
on a
now.
hiatus from it even right now.
And you
Yeah,
know what? That's a great point. And it's, above all, be fair to yourself. Give yourself some
yeah,
grace, even if the algorithm isn't going to give it to you. Take
yeah,
the space, take whatever time and space you need in order to be a better human, because that'll come across in your business as well. Hard agree. It's also social media for me. Hate it. I'm totally going against everything right now and maybe posting like once a week on Instagram, but I do religiously post once a week on YouTube. But yeah, I'm like I've kind of just given up on Instagram because it's so difficult right now. And it sucks my soul dry just to look
yeah,
at more every day.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then
It's
you
draining for sure.
right, like you put together some really cute content that is cute and fun and engaging and what have you, and it doesn't do anything and it's just crickets and it's like what I my reach was 5 people on this. That's not fair. So your candles are kind of in that higher end because they're so custom, absolutely. Um, and that is a good sign that you know your worth, you know your value, and the product you're putting out in the world. So all great things. But have you been affected by this economy? I mean, the economy is kind of in the trash right now. It's really kind of hard to be an American. It's really hard to be small business.
Yeah.
I know so many friends who are either on the verge of closing or have closed up a shop this year. How are you keeping up with the challenging economy?
I haven't seen a big impact in the wedge of the market that I'm in.
Mhm.
The people that have the resources to buy one of my candles don't seem to be struggling as much. Um, so my sales have stayed still pretty consistent. The people that are going to say a handmade market they tend to have more, disposable income to spend on something that's a little higher end. I haven't seen a difference in my candle business in the same way that I think it's impacted pretty much everything else.
Mhm.
And I'm in a really good position that I'm not dependent on this income because my husband works full time. That's our base income. So I don't have the pressure that a lot of other people do to make
Mhm.
X number of dollars a month. I when we lost our daughter, I was paid by the state to be her caregiver because she had such complicated medical needs. So I did
Mhm.
lose that income and I would like to replace that. I'm not quite there yet, um, but thankfully, yeah, like I said, I'm not dependent on it. So I think that makes a big difference for me too. And I'm the customers that I generally have aren't seeing the same pinch.
I think this ties very much into you knowing exactly who your ideal customer is and your that kind of target demographic. And congratulations,
Yeah.
well done. I'm like because I'm like, yeah, of course we're not seeing upper middle class people and above are not, they're not affected by the economy. They're not, affected by losing SNAP benefits. They're not affected by, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and that's brilliant positioning on your part. I've had complete crickets
Yeah, it's tough.
this year. So
Yeah.
Like it's been rough. I'm like,
Yeah,
even at like in-person events, like I did one a couple weeks ago, and you know, and I hear this at most things. They're like, I came with X number, I set a budget for myself and I've already either spent that,
yeah,
or your stuff is just out of what I was prepared to, outside the price range of what I was prepared to spend a day. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. I
yeah,
offer Afterpay. I'm like, I've got options for you, but I always hand them a business card and be like, you know what? I'm always available. Come find me. You can shop anytime
yeah,
in your pajamas at home. I don't care. And I'll bring it to you the next day. It's an unfortunate thing right now. And I feel personally guilty when I'm asking people to spend, $30 on a candle or whatever, a $20 bath bomb, when they're worried about where their next
yeah,
meal is coming from, and that's something that
yeah,
I try and be really conscious about, but, you know,
yeah.
and sympathetic towards, but it's not something I always execute very well.
Well,
Uh,
that's tough because we don't work in big, massive batches with, the bulk benefits that other,
right.
big names do. And,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't want to be the person that makes it difficult for you to buy gas tomorrow. I
Right.
just,
Right. Or,
I've been there. I've been where money's been tight. I've been where that's not a possibility. And that's why I don't really feel compelled to compare myself to, say, Yankee Candle or a Walmart candle or whatever, because that might be that candle that's in that person's budget.
mhm,
Um,
right.
and it might be a splurge for them even at that. And
Right.
I'm not going to make anybody feel bad about that.
If that's your vibe and that's what you're comfortable doing, then go for it, but
Yeah.
I'll also tell you that, Bath and Body Works and Yankee Candle and Target don't necessarily need your money.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody asks me about that, yeah, we'll have a conversation. But
You did your first in-person event last year or so, last year. How did that go and what lessons did you learn from it? Have you done any more since
it
then?
was good. It was definitely um, really affirmed where I thought most of my ideal customers were coming from and how they were shopping. And it was kind of fun to watch people walk by and kind of wonder, oh, is that person kind of the one that might come in this booth? And be right.
That's always a
Um,
fun game to play.
I'm Yeah. I'm a really diehard introvert that can really fake it pretty well. So it was a good experience to um interact. And I loved meeting customers that got really excited about a type of candle that they haven't seen before when, there's a million candles out there. So um, yeah, I made a lot of really good connections, and that was really helpful, not just with customers, although I have a few from even that first event that have, been diehard customers since, but also, again, kind of getting back to meeting other vendors and really learning what's working, what's not. I really like the branding aspect of my business. If I could, that to me is a whole, fun thing. And learning how to stage my booth and that kind of stuff was a blast. And I've done a few more this year. Yeah, it's been a really good experience to meet people in person. And I think that's part of the part that I struggle with my business the most is visibility.
Mhm,
Like I said, I think I come up on something like page 37 of Google if you know, type in whatever candle search terms you're looking for.
mhm,
Um, so being out and it's been affirming to say, okay, yeah, there is a market for my candles. I just need to get them in front of people.
mhm.
And that's been the hardest part.
SEO is so hard. And I think also people have a different approach, reaction, etc. There's a certain tactile part of the experience when people go into when buying candles
Yeah.
that is really hard to communicate over the internet. So personally,
Absolutely.
I've kind of struggled with selling in person. Candles are by far my top seller, but online, it's pretty much repeat customers who have either bought candles from me
Yeah.
before or what have you. And I'm not quite sure what the disconnect is. I can take some
Yeah.
educated guesses, but I'm like, I've really kind of struggled moving into the online space because, I'm like, I'm getting older. I don't want to be up at, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Lugging your stuff all over Kingdom Come.
the vendor community is always super supportive of one another. So,
Oh, yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know, what is the funniest or weirdest comment that a passerby has made while sniffing your candles at a market?
This probably happens to you too. I have noticed that
Mm.
people will, when they pick one up to smell, if they're with someone else, they always pass it off to have the next person smell it.
Yep.
Every time.
Right. And even though
Every
everybody's palate is a little bit
time.
different,
Yeah.
it's always unhinged a little to me.
It's hilarious.
Right.
I never put it together until I started doing more markets, and I was like, oh my gosh, it happens every time. And then my husband and I went to a market to check out a couple months ago or a month ago, and I realized I did the exact same thing. I picked up someone's candle and I immediately went, smell this.
Mine would be probably having to explain that JD Vance's couch does not smell like that, you know, and keep it very PC and PG-13, etc.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
it cracks me up whenever, like, I often get like moms with little kids, littles, in my booth. And, the kids, of course, they want to smell everything. And that's fine. That's what it's there for. And their parents are like, oh, just don't touch anything. And I'm like, that's no, go, fine. You're fine. Touch it. I don't
yeah,
care. You know,
yeah,
I'll figure it out if something happens to whatever product. If that
yeah.
bath bomb crumbles, it probably was on its last market anyway. What candle of yours is the most you?
I don't know. How's that answer? I
That's
don't know.
perfectly
I
acceptable.
will say pretty much anything that's blue.
Okay.
I tend to go way overboard with the blue vessels. So yeah, if it's blue and it's colorful and it's fun, it's probably me.
What candle trend do you hope never comes back?
You know, I don't get the trend of having food shaped candles that smell like the food. Like
Mm,
like
cupcake.
a donut candle that, or
Hmm.
like a molded donut candle that smells like a donut. No, no,
Oh, I
no.
actually work with a
I think
donut
I saw a
shop.
mac and cheese one. Yeah, I'm not a really big one. I'm not a big person with like bakery type scents anyway. But then
Same.
you make it taste or shaped like the thing that you're trying. No, no.
Hard pass, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Um, Agreed. I actually do work with a local donut shop and I make a custom candle blend for them. I worked with Katie putting together the scent we were going to do, etc. And then
Yeah,
she picked out the jars. We did jars instead of my usual tins. Um, and it could be fun to do a donut shaped candle, but that's just not my vibe. And I don't work with I don't work with candle dyes because they also add harmful stuff to your air, like phthalates and um, other pollutants,
yeah,
volatile organic compounds or VOCs.
yeah.
Um,
Those VOCs.
yep. So it's just not my vibe, but I think it could be fun
Yeah,
for
it's not
her.
me either.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Breanna, for being here and for answering all of my questions. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay. So join us next week. I will be discussing how to fix a candle that you think you ruined. We'll kind of go over how to salvage some of your candles. As always, every accusation is a confession. Free Palestine, protect the First Amendment, and do not let up on the Epstein files. Survivors deserve justice. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Breanna, for being here and for answering my weird questions, and for dedicating so much time to this. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate it more than I can tell you. Join me next week where we say goodbye to 2025 and welcome in 2026. As always, every accusation is a confession, free Palestine, protect the First Amendment, and do not let up on the Epstein files. Survivors deserve justice. See you next week.